Let's talk about how you can start a rip cut with a handsaw. The key to this is practice. You've really got to practice your hand sawing to get to where you can just walk up and start a cut without fussing over it. But there are some things you can do to make it easier from the start, and probably the most important one is to let the saw do the work. So when I walk up to do a saw cut like this, I will use my thumb as a guide, and some people might get a little worried because my thumb is right next to the tooth line, but that thumb is round, and when I put the saw plate up against it, the teeth are going to be down there where there's no meat. So I'm not pushing hard with my thumb, I'm just kind of resting it on there. It gives me a point of leverage to steer the saw and keep it in the right spot. The next thing I'm going to do, once I make sure my body's not in the way and all my joints are lined up in a single plane, is I'm going to start by not cutting. I'm just going to kind of float over the start of the cut, and that gets the saw plate moving. And then when you're on a forward pass, so you see how if I put it in there and I just start to push on it, the teeth bite in. But if I'm already moving, the cut kind of starts itself. So I'm just going to take really light cuts, and I'm not even pushing down on the saw. I'm just moving it back and forth, and it's doing all the work. We'll get into the procession of how to cut a joint like this, but that's how you get it started, and that's a much easier way to get things going. If you're having trouble getting it started like this and you want to do something to make it a little bit easier for yourself, you can grab a chisel and you can relieve some of this corner here right down next to your knife line. Okay, so now you have a notch, you have a vertical wall on the side that you want to keep, and you've got an angled wall on the side that you want to cut your waste. And now when you drop the blade in there, it tends to wander a little bit less. You still want to start by floating. Another thing to remember when you're sawing is to try to imagine that the saw plate is about twice as long as you think it is, because a lot of people end up sawing in just a few inches of plate. So they dull the teeth right there. They don't ever use the one. They might use the ones on the end for starting the cut, but then they kind of get stuck in this little tiny like sanding motion almost. And what you want to do is take really long passes. You don't have to push hard, but you'll cut faster, because that time and the energy you spend changing directions, it's all wasted energy. It has to be done, but it's not productive. You're not cutting anything. So if you make fewer strokes but longer strokes, you're going to get a lot more efficiency out of your cutting.